Okay, we got to do some housekeeping because, like I said, one of you pointed out we forgot to weigh stuff to find out how heavy the locomotives are before we measured their pulling power. So I started doing that. Now, here's the problem. So I've got this digital scale. Its capacity is 600 grams. Well, the DD40 weighs more than 600 grams. And I looked at my other scales. I've got some postal scales and stuff. They don't go that high. But it occurred to me that we have this dynamometer, which not only can measure pulling power, we can measure how much does something weigh with this one. This is the heavy duty one, and it goes up to 3 kilograms. Now I've got another one that goes to 50 pounds. I already tried this on that. I couldn't, the reading, the first tick mark on it is 1 pound. So it wasn't really very useful. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to take, since we can't use that scale, we're going to take this. We're going to put a little wire on it. All right, and I think you know what's coming next. Then we're going to hook that on to a coupler like that. Fortunately, we're using metal ones, and we are going to hang him from here. And he comes in at 750 grams. Okay, that's, I believe that was 26.2 ounces. Okay, let's do the UP one. So I was concerned until I remembered that we have this guy. I thought I was going to have to go find a better scale. And he should come in at, yep, and he does. He's identical at 750. 26.2 ounces. Okay, what about Ajax? Since we haven't tested him yet, but we are going to because he's part of this build. Hercules doesn't get tested because you don't have couplers. We haven't found a good coupler solution for him yet. Now, Ajax here, he comes in $740 on Ajax. $740. So he'll be just a little bit less. Be like 26 ounces, but that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. So we'll record on our sheet. So what we're going to do then, and here's the other question. Once we've got this data, what are we going to do with it? We're going to compile this. We're going to compile it into a chart. And then you're like, well, how are we going to relate this to pulling cars? One of you asked about how we're going to relate this to pulling cars. That is what these guys are for. The 2 scrapping trains. The 2 scrapping trains are super heavy. And if we have to, in case you forgot, remember those guys over there in the corner? All those 40-foot box cars that are ridiculously heavy? The 40-foot high cubes? We can bring those out. And what we can do then is the same thing. We'll take the dynamometer, we'll put them on a track, and we will, and we're going to pull the train with this first to see how much the train weighs. But we're going to weigh these cars also. We're going to weigh the cars and find out how much they weigh so that we can get a really good test. I got to say, this is the longest final reveal we've ever done. This final reveal is going to be a number of videos, but we're going to obtain some really good data, and we're going to know some stuff about locomotives. And like I said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get down to where we can say a train of so many cars, so much weight, takes a certain number of standard blue box GP9s to pull it. And then we can say that a DD40 is, if it pulled 210, it would be 3 GP9s, something like that. Now, one of the interesting things is that Ernst Gears SD45 weighed in at 14.44 and pulled 110. The GP30 weighed in at 14.56 and only pulled 80. So I started recording axle numbers. There is a difference in axle numbers. That SD45 had 6 axles, and the GP30 only has 4, and these guys have 8. So we're going to have to take that into account, and we're going to have to chart this out, and I literally have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to end up with. One thing we are going to do is we're going to test Ferdinand and Mouse, because we're going to start testing pairs. But we got to test Ferdinand and Mouse. I mean, come on now. They've been putting... We could test Pug, too. We could test Pug, since his scrapping train right here. That's his train. And he can't pull it by himself. But I do believe somewhere in the plans, there is plans to give him his own helper. So that's where we're at. We're compiling the data, and we're going to come up with something, a chart. And once upon a time, one of those old magazines, I think it was Model Railroading, used to do these kinds of tests. And each month they would come out with a report on the pulling power and then how many ounces and stuff. And those were pretty good things. And they did a good job with that. And it's time for us to revive some of that. We should know some things about our trains. And we should have some standards and practices so that we know a little bit about especially around here, we weigh things down extra heavy. And when we first had these two guys over here attempt to pull, and they couldn't, when Ajax was trying to push that train, these guys couldn't help by pulling. It didn't work. They weren't heavy enough. I'm not gonna weight them down. The idea around here is that if you run into a situation where that locomotive can't pull a certain train, then you need another one. And the hostler's job is to provide you with another locomotive. And that's the way we'll do it around here. All right, so that's where we're at. We got a little house cleanup and get some data together. And then we are going to test these guys as conscious too. We're going to test them together. See what they both pull when they pull together. When we did this before, I think there were some surprising results. It wasn't entirely just additive. But we'll see. Test it again.